The most efficient prison doesn't need walls. You can come and go, consume, voice your opinions. But are you really free? What if I told you your choices aren't as much yours as you think? What happens when a prisoner loves their chains? Get ready to see reality in a way that might make you uncomfortable. But then again, the truth was never meant to be comfortable. Have you ever stopped to question why you think the way you do? Or how you came to the conclusions you have about life, freedom, happiness? If your answer is no, don't feel guilty. The truth is, most people live without ever questioning the invisible chains that bind them. And the strangest part, often, these chains are accepted with a smile, as if they were choices. Throughout the centuries, society has created a reality where we feel free, but the truth is that freedom has always been an illusion. An illusion that, much like a modern-day prison, doesn't need walls to keep you inside. What truly keeps most people shackled are the limits of their mind. And often, these limits aren't seen. They are internalized as part of what's normal. Historically, chains were made of iron, visible and brutal. Today, they are inside you, shaping your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. When you think you're free, it's because you're inside the most sophisticated prison that's ever existed, the prison of the mind. And if you don't realize it, you could spend your entire life never questioning your true condition. What does it really mean to be free? Modern society has convinced us that freedom lies in the power to consume, to choose, to express our opinions without restrictions. However, this idea of freedom is, in reality, a huge distortion. The freedom that's sold to us is the freedom to choose from a limited set of options within a predefined system. We're taught from an early age to believe that we have autonomy, that we're in control of our lives. But what really happens is that we're guided by external forces that define, step by step, what we should want, what we should consume, and even how we should behave. Imagine this. You're in a room full of doors. At first, they all seem open, offering different possibilities. But if you look closer, you'll notice all the doors are within a single corridor, and that corridor is designed in such a way that you can never truly choose something outside of it. You think you have the freedom to choose, but in reality, you're limited to a set of pre-established options. This is what we call the illusion of freedom. The modern control system, with its social engineering, uses consumption as a way to deceive people. It creates artificial needs, making us desire things that, deep down, aren't essential for our true freedom or happiness. When you buy something new, for example, you feel like you've gained a piece of freedom. But in reality, you're just feeding a vicious cycle of consumption and manipulation. The choices you think you have were actually designed to make you feel satisfied within a system that never gets questioned. Speaking of questioning, have you ever stopped to think that maybe your opinions, ideas, and beliefs aren't exactly yours? Maybe you've been shaped to think a certain way without realizing it? Social engineering is always at work, shaping our worldview in invisible yet highly effective ways. What many people don't understand is that human behavior is largely manipulated by external forces, especially through the media and social networks. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with information that shapes our thinking. The news we consume, the images we see on social media, even the conversations we have in our daily lives, all of it is carefully crafted to steer us towards specific behavior. And we don't even realize it. If we observe closely, we'll see how fear is used as a tool of control. The system uses fear to keep us within certain boundaries and prevent us from questioning or seeking alternatives. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing the security that conformity brings, fear of making mistakes. This fear is constantly fueled so that we feel comfortable inside the mental prison we live in. Social manipulation, therefore, is subtle but immensely powerful. A clear example of this is found in advertising campaigns, which sell us not just a product, but an idea, a lifestyle. We're constantly taught to fear what's different, to follow a way of thinking that's imposed on us, and to ridicule those who dare to think outside the box. All of this is part of a system that doesn't want true mental freedom to happen. When we talk about freedom, we need to understand that it goes far beyond simply being physically unshackled. The real prison is in our own ideas, the limitations we place on what we can or can't think. How does this happen? From childhood, we are bombarded with predefined concepts, ideas about what success is, what happiness is, what purpose is. These are labels that society places on us, and without questioning, we accept them as our own truths. But what happens when we start to see that these concepts were designed to keep us in a box, preventing us from going beyond? When we begin to realize that success for many is a prison that makes us work tirelessly for an imposed ideal, instead of seeking true freedom. Look at society's expectations. You go to school, attend college, get a job, climb the career ladder, and in the end, if you have success, you should be happy, right? But the big question is, who decided this was the way? Is happiness really tied to these standards, or have you been programmed to believe it? And worse, often those who try to question or challenge these standards, those who seek a new way of living or thinking, are ridiculed. They are called dreamers, utopians, even crazy. But are the true crazy ones not those who accept a reality they've never questioned? The prison of ideas is the most effective system of mental control. It's invisible, but it holds power as strong as any iron chain. But did you know that the key to this prison lies in questioning everything? Here's the deepest paradox of all. Why would someone choose to defend their chains? The idea of serving a system that limits us, that imposes rules on us, that locks us in a box, should be something that bothers us, right? But in reality, many of us defend those chains with all our might. And the strangest thing, we don't even realize we're doing it. The truth is, for many, the pain of living outside their comfort zone, even if uncomfortable, is greater than the pain of living imprisoned within a mental prison. The fear of change, the attachment to the known, the need for security, these make people prefer to accept the invisible prison rather than question it. This is the essence of voluntary servitude. The prisoner, instead of fighting for their freedom, begins to fight for the system that keeps them trapped. And here comes the most interesting psychological game. The people who start to question society's chains are often attacked by the very prisoners. It's as if, by disturbing the foundations of what they've always believed, others feel a need to defend the system. They call us radicals, crazy, and even try to ridicule us. This happens because, deep down, when we question the prison, we put at risk the safety they feel from accepting this way of life. But what really stops us from taking the step toward true freedom? Why do so many people choose to stay in a system that limits them, that keeps them small, that makes them live for a purpose that's not theirs, but someone else's? Attachment to security, resistance to the new, and most importantly, fear of discomfort are the strongest chains. Have you ever stopped to think that the prison you fear to face is actually your own uncomfortable comfort zone? And that true freedom often requires an act of courage, a deep and continuous questioning. From the moment we're born, we're shaped. We're placed into a structure of norms, values, and expectations we didn't choose, but that become part of who we are. Education, culture, religion, politics. All of these start to form our worldview. The idea of freedom then begins to be distorted from our earliest experiences. And believe me, much of what you think is a personal choice is actually a reflection of conditioning that began long ago. Take school, for example. From an early age, we're taught to follow rules, to obey, to be productive, and above all, to fit in. We're prepared to be good citizens, not free thinkers. And throughout our lives, the education system molds us to be part of a larger machine, without ever questioning what's behind it. The textbooks, the exams, the activities, they all train us to be obedient. But what about our freedom to think? What about questioning? What about developing critical awareness? In many cases, all of this is sidelined in the name of efficiency, productivity, and conformity. Culture also has an even deeper impact. It teaches us what we should value, what's important, what's right and wrong. Over the years, we absorb these concepts, and often we don't even realize we're living a programmed life. Culture is like an invisible software being installed in our minds, and often we become prisoners of these ideas without knowing it. The question here is, are you really free to choose who you want to be, or are you just repeating what has always been imposed on you? How has the culture you live in conditioned your choices and behavior? Now that we've reflected on how the invisible chains of the modern prison limit us, the crucial question arises: is there a way out? The answer is yes, but it requires something many are afraid to face: awakening. Spiritual awakening is the first step toward realizing the subtle chains that control our actions, thoughts, and decisions. The first step is simple, but also the most challenging. Question. Question everything. Question the life you're living. Question your beliefs, your values, the narrative society has imposed that you've accepted without reflecting. When you start doing this, you'll realize that many of your choices aren't actually choices. They are automatic responses to patterns that were formed within you over the years. This awakening process is personal, but it can be accelerated with practices that have the power to expand consciousness. Meditation, for example, is a powerful tool for silencing the mind and starting to perceive the layers of conditioning we carry. It helps us observe our thoughts without identifying with them. When we begin to see our beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors from the outside, we start to realize the prison we didn't know existed. Furthermore, self-awareness is crucial. As you start investigating your reactions, fears, and certainties, you'll see how conditioned you've been to react automatically. Every small step you take on the path of self-awareness is a key that opens a new door to freedom. Letting go of limiting beliefs is another essential aspect. Society teaches us to cling to fixed ideas: what's right, what's wrong, what we must do to succeed. But when you start questioning and letting go of these beliefs, you make room for new possibilities, for a new perception of reality. Freedom, in this sense, isn't something you'll conquer all at once. It's a continuous journey of expanding consciousness. But the simple act of being willing to question and break free from invisible chains is already a huge step toward a new way of living. The good news is that the way out exists. We no longer have to live as prisoners of an imposed reality. But to reach this freedom, we need the courage to look inside ourselves and see the chains that bind us. And by doing so, we start to live more authentically, more consciously, and most importantly, more freely. We've reached the end of this journey of reflection, and it's impossible not to ask, what now? The modern prison doesn't have walls. The truth was never comfortable, and often, realizing we're imprisoned is a shock. But at the same time, it's liberating. It's from this moment of awareness that we can begin breaking the invisible chains that limit us. And believe me, few have the courage to take that first step. We may be few, but we will be the ones who truly choose our truth. The path of spiritual awakening requires courage. It requires a radical transformation in the way we see ourselves and the world around us. It's not an easy path, but it's the only one that leads us to true freedom. That's why I invite you to reflect. What reality are you living in? Is it your reality? Or is it a reality imposed by a system that feeds on your ignorance and complacency? Question, explore, seek the truth within yourself. The spiritual awakening is yours, if you choose to accept it. If these words have touched you, I invite you to take the next step on this journey of self-discovery. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue this journey of spiritual growth with us. Leave your comments about the reality you live in. Is it real? How has it been a teacher for your own awakening? Let's grow together, not just in mind, but in heart. And if you want to delve deeper into this process, watch our video, How to Control Your Mind and Live in Inner Peace, which will help you understand more about how the mind holds you and lies to you. Peace and light.